this new episode of Norwich Theatre Talks. My name is Stephen Crocker and I'm Chief Executive and Creative Director of Norwich Theatre, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this podcast, which is going to focus today on amazing women who've been charting a course within the theatre industry. Later in the podcast, I get to chat to one of my own team, Tara Claxton, our Head of Technical Operations and Stage Manager. But now I'm delighted to welcome one of Norwich's favourite comedians. She's also a performer and an actor, and she's here with me just before her show in about 30 minutes' time here at Playhouse. You can hear the audience arriving in the background. Welcome, Suzi Ruffell. Suzi, welcome back to Norwich. It's lovely to have you, and thank you for coming on Norwich Theatre Talks. How's the tour going?
Well, this is the fourth day of the second run of it. So I'm still in the new bit of it, and I've changed it quite a lot. I change my shows relentlessly while I'm on tour. I constantly write more material and then cut bits, and so it changes quite a lot. But last night I was in Brighton. It was enormous fun, and I'm very excited to be back here. It's always very, very nice.
Yeah.
I did the show. I've come here for the last 3 tours, I think, and it's always been lovely.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be back.
Absolutely. Now I'm intrigued. The show's called Snappy.
Yes.
Where's the title from?
Well, the honest answer is that you have to name a show long before you write it.
Yeah.
So I always go for something quite broad unless I've already got a specific routine. So it's called Snappy because I like dressing in a snappy way, but also I'm always trying to do 100 things at once. So it's like, come on, let's do things. I'm quite, and I also have a toddler and she's pretty snappy. Uh-huh. So there's a lot of reasons, but mainly because I like wearing a suit. I've just had a coffee brought in for continuity purposes.
And I'm so delighted Suzi's joined us in the half an hour before the show. Thank you,
Yes.
Suzi. Now, have you got any particular pre-show rituals? I'm guessing it's not doing a podcast.
No, it tends not to be doing a podcast. No, I need to eat at a certain time because I'm very physical on stage, so I need quite a lot of energy. And if I don't eat, I find myself flagging during the second half. And no, I always take support with me. So I've got a friend on the road with me tonight. I've got Danish Nathan, who's really, really funny and a really good mate. And no, I just quite methodically look through the show. I still make changes to bits, and I'll continue to until it's finished. And quite methodically do my makeup. It's sort of half done as it is right now. So there'll be more makeup to put on. Just keep painting the face until I feel ready.
Now, I was told on my sheet of paper here to talk to you about being a pioneering woman in comedy.
Who told you to say that?
How is the pioneering business going?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't describe myself as that at all. So I don't know who told you that, but I'm very much following in the footsteps of pioneering women in comedy. There's a lot that have come before me. Yeah. So I think I'm just sort of treading in their step, to be quite honest.
That's kind of what I love about your work. When I hear your comedy, there are kind of not references, but you've talked a lot about the women that have inspired you. People like Victoria Wood.
Yeah.
My favourite Victoria Wood quote is there are 2 types of comedian.
Mm-hmm.
There's the deeply melancholic, or the ones that wear the jumpers and play golf.
That's good.
Which one are you?
I don't play golf, but I guess I'm not deeply melancholic. I'm quite anxious, but I'm not melancholic at all. So, but yeah, I was enormously inspired by people like French and Saunders, Victoria Wood, Joan Rivers, and then women that have come sort of more recently before me, like Sarah Millican, Catherine Ryan, Sarah Pascoe, friends of mine, that paved the way.
Whilst you wouldn't identify as pioneering, I don't think anybody probably would. But we are a bit obsessed by labels and things.
Yes.
But if not pioneering, there must be young comics who look to you and come to you to ask for advice and are inspired by your material.
I don't know. I guess some people are. People say very nice things about it, but it's I mean, sometimes people ask advice, but the only advice that you can give someone that wants to do stand-up is gig and then keep gigging, and then you're shit for a while, and then you might be less shit, and then you might be shit again, and you keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, and eventually you work out what your voice is. That's the only way you can really do it. There's no shortcut with comedy.
It's one of the toughest art forms, I've always thought, because in these theatres, we've got every kind of genre. And you get your criticism like that.
Yeah.
If they laugh or they don't laugh,
Yeah. Also, everyone laughs at plays.
Yeah.
People like jokes in plays can be like, I'll go and see a play sometime and be like, and then be like, that wasn't actually that funny. But it just is rhythmically how they've written it to be a joke.
But it's there, isn't it? It's kind of
constant,
brutal, constant kind of measuring, and you know.
It's a great chat to have before a gig.
Yeah, but this is going to be amazing, obviously.
No, but it is. You know immediately. You know immediately if it's funny. There's there's no hiding that.
There's a kind of level of resilience that's needed, isn't there?
Yeah, I guess so. I think that you've got to really want to do it. It's not it's not something you can't do it half-heartedly.
Yeah.
Or if you do, you don't get to the stage where you can go on tour.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to work really hard to get the material good enough. I mean, I'm very sort of particular about my shows, and I did one run of this show, and then during the 3 months off, I went and wrote a new 20 minutes for it because I had an idea and I thought that would work with that show.
Yeah.
And so rather than being like, oh, it's done, it's like it always can be improved.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, but I think that's the work ethic of a lot of comics. I think a lot of comics would sit here and say a similar thing because, you know, you always want to be the best you can be.
Yeah, and it's constantly observational, isn't it? You know, kind of always.
Yeah.
And your comedy is often about observing and commenting on.
Yeah, it's sort of a mixture of storytelling and observation and my mum's voice. That's sort of the mixture. But I think you can always, things might happen in your life and you think, oh, that's a funny thing to share. And also it's good to have new stuff all the time because it makes you more excited to share it.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be routines that you do and then sort of once they're done on telly, they're sort of dead. But there'll be bits that you can rely on that will always work, but they become less exciting to perform because you know.
Yeah. Sorry if this is a predictable
No,
question.
please.
But I have a few friends who are comics. And we've seen kind of...
Would I know them?
Stephen Bailey?
Yes, I know Stephen.
Stephen, I go way back to Manchester.
Ah.
Oh, yes. The stories I could tell. But I've talked to quite a few people about how comedy has changed in the world around us.
Yeah.
It is a predictable question, but are you more scared about the material? Are you more considerate of the material that you cover?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm not, because I've never been that kind of stand-up.
Yeah.
I've always been an observational storyteller that talks about my life and talks about I don't think my opinions have ever been risque. And I don't do anything... I never try and be offensive. I don't want to be offensive. It's not really comedy that makes me laugh massively. It's not, there's room for all kinds of comedy.
Yeah.
But for the sort of stuff that I do, there's never been, that I've never thought, oh, I can't say that. No. Because I don't think I'd think up that gag.
No.
And some people love that sort of stuff and some people don't.
Yeah.
So I've never really had to consider that.
Yeah.
Although I'm not, convinced that, I don't know how much sort of cancelling really exists. I don't know I think it's something that's talked about a lot. I think it's only ever happened in this country, and into America indeed, in like you sort of suggest that a male stand-up might get cancelled, and now Louis CK has just won a Grammy. So I don't think that it's actually a thing that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that some people like shocking, but that's not what I do.
No, absolutely.
It's not why people come and see me.
No, absolutely. So tell us a bit about what you're up to at the moment.
Sure.
Away from, right, because you seem like the sort of person that never stops. Doing the show, you're always thinking about the next project and planning.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my time is devoted to being a mum. Yeah. And so my daughter's coming up for 3 and it's, I'm very aware of how brief this period of her life is going to be. It won't be long until she's at school, and my career has very much taken a back seat at the moment. Not because of, back seat's maybe the wrong word, she takes priority always.
Yeah, of course.
And so now I'm on tour and I don't do more than 3 nights a week. So I'm home for bed and bath and, I'll try and work other things around it. And I need to be there for breakfast and I want to be, I want to be there. That's the most important thing in the world to me at the moment. But alongside stand-up, I've got a couple of podcasts that keep me very busy. I've got Like Minded Friends with Tom Allen and a podcast called Out, where I interview sort of inspiring LGBTQIA plus chaps and chapesses and people that refer to be neither of those things, and which I love, and then like TV projects and things. I've got a couple of scripts on the go. Whether any of those happen, who knows? But that's the thing with telly is that you're at the behest of somebody else's opinion, and you're waiting for the phone to ring. Now I don't really like waiting for the phone to ring, so I do stand up, and I like doing telly. It's fun to do telly. It's fun doing shows like Live at the Apollo, and I've been, privileged enough to do that a couple of times, and The Last Leg, because that's live, so it feels very immediate. There's lots of shows that I enjoy doing, but for me, I've never done stand-up to try and get on telly.
No.
I do stand-up to do stand-up.
Yeah.
So I'm very content in travelling around the country. Like, it's lovely to come here. I think this one sold out super quick, so I know everyone in there's going to be well up for it. It's a real privilege to be on tour and for people to come and see you and want to chat to you afterwards. And so I've got other telly bits and pieces on, but as long as I've always got the stand-up, that is enough, which is lovely.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
that I have, I think there are some. No, I'll stop there, which is lovely.
Suzi, thank you so much.
You can have another fight if you want to keep
Are you
chatting.
sure?
We can chat until 10 past if you like.
Okay, so my next question. So you
Okay, go for
mentioned
it.
that you've recently become a mum.
I have, yes.
When I was on holiday recently, I read Ellie Taylor's book. And
Yes,
because
she's a friend.
She's found amazing comedy material in everything that becoming a mum.
Yeah, she's
Are you
great.
going to go that route? Are we going to start hearing about your home life and
There
being
is
mum
some
on
of that.
stage?
There is some of that in the show tonight. Yeah, there is some of it about me trying to juggle being a mum and having a career, and there's stuff about me being a queer mum, and there's stuff about me feeling like I get it wrong all the time, and stuff about the fact that becoming a mum has like upped my anxiety in a way that I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, I think when you do sort of storytelling, you can only ever really go from what's happening in your life at that moment. So nothing that I tell on stage in this whole show tonight is a lie.
Yeah.
There's not one lie. There's not one bit of material where I've gone, oh, that's sort of a funny idea, or I'll write a bit about that. Everything is true. And I can say that for most of my shows. There are a couple of routines here and there throughout the last sort of 6 shows that I've done where I go, oh, that was a bit of a lie, or that was a bit of a lie. But in the last 2 or 3, there's not been anything that I've just made up. And so I find the funniness from just everyday stuff, and that's how I write. Maybe it means maybe I should be more creative and just make up stuff. But
and does that? Are there people around you that are kind of can't say that? Can't say that in case it makes it into
no,
a show?
I think that my friends know that I wouldn't do that to them. I do have to check everything I talk about at home with my wife. Which is fair enoug Well, because
if not, that could get tricky.
Yeah, exactly. And she's got absolutely no interest in showing off. She was, she's a happy, content person and doesn't feel the need to tell for strangers to tell her that she's funny. But when I'm talking about our life, it is something that I'm sharing about us. And she's very private. I very seldomly put a picture of her on the internet. Although when I did the Jonathan Ross show, they put up a massive picture of us after we got engaged. And I was like, oh. And Alice was like, oh, okay, well, there's a picture of me on telly. All right. But I always check it with her. Other than her, my mum and dad love being part of the show.
They do that.
I lean on them
pride
heavily
there, isn't it?
for stand-up. If I'm a routine short, I go and spend a weekend at mum and dad's, and I'm like, all right, got a new one, brilliant.
Are they in the auditorium kind of?
Yeah. Well, do you know what? It's funny you say that. A couple of years ago, we were at Edinburgh, and my mum always would come up for a couple of days, and it'd be like we were having a sleepover, and we'd go and get pissed, and we'd have a great time. And mum's really good fun. And she came to my show, and we were having a drink afterwards, and some of the audience came in, and someone was chatting to me, and I was like, oh, and she was like, oh, all the stuff about your mum's so lovely, and I was like, oh, that's my mum. And Mum was like, hi, it's all true. She just loved it. She was sort of part of it. And my dad's a really good sport. He doesn't mind being, he sort of enjoys it. And he's also a funny guy. He's funny in the pub. Yeah. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to spin a yarn. So they get it. And they know how much I love stand-up. I've been doing stand-up for a long time. And it's, most stand-ups don't get to tour and don't get to go on the road. Yeah. And it's a real joy to be able to do that, and a joy to have, an hour to share with people. So Mum and Dad have, they've been along for the ride. They were there, 13 years ago. That's when lovely. I was playing to 10 people and a dog.
Yeah. So, okay, this has to be my last question.
Sure.
We must let Suzi get on stage. Fast forward 15 years.
Right.
And your daughter says
God.
You, I want to be a comedian.
Oh, please don't. I think it's a hard job. Do you know the hardest thing about it is when you start is it can be quite lonely. There's a lot of travel. I look back at 28-year-old me and think, oh, it wasn't that safe. I used to get trains really late at night, stay in places that were really cheap and a bit dodge, and that's the thing that I find. I look back and go, oh God, I think it's a lot better now, and there's a real community amongst comics and real community amongst female comics.
Yeah.
People really look out for each other, which is lovely. But it is a, you know, it's a hard way to spend your life. And I think that I'm very lucky that I really enjoy being on the road.
Yeah.
I hate being away from home, but I love doing a couple of nights away and doing the tour show here and there. And that, but that's still tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, like traveling all the time, and you know, I think it's aged me.
Well, you wouldn't tell it.
Well, that's because of the Botox.
No. Suzi, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
To Norwich Theatre. It's lovely to chat to you, and have a great show.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for calling the Beckett Estate. Your call is important to us. Please continue to wait, and an operator will be with you shortly.
But I was busy thinking about boys. I was busy dreaming about boys. Head is spinning thinking about boys.
One of the things I enjoy most about hosting this podcast is the opportunity to introduce you to members of the wider Norwich Theatre team, and for me to get to sit down and have a bit of a chat. I learn all sorts of things about my colleagues, and today my guest is the brilliant Tara Claxton. Tara, welcome
Thank
to
you for
Norwich
having
Theatre
me.
Talks and Podcast Corner.
Thank you. It's
Do you
great to
like
be
my
here.
triffids?
I love it. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yes. Now, Tara's role with us is head of technical operations, but you might have seen Tara during the pantomime, often if something didn't go quite right, because Tara also works as stage manager for us. Tara, tell us a little bit about what you do day to day.
Okay, so yes, Head of Technical Operations is the title. And ultimately, day to day, I just make sure that everything technical is working and that everyone in the department is where they need to be, supporting all of the incoming productions that we do and all of our producing work that we do. In a nutshell, that's kind of what I do, just make sure it's all running smoothly.
Absolutely. And as stage manager, you've joined our team because we're producing lots more of our own work now, but that's how you came through the industry, isn't it? Before coming to Norwich Theatre, that was you.
Yes, yeah, it's been, I've had a number of years now touring the country and international, and as a member of the stage management, and it's been amazing. And I've toured into Norwich Theatre Royal a few times, but never worked here, never been a part of the family, and never been a part of anything of the producing world here. So now, like 20 years touring and then coming here is really amazing for me.
And what sorts of shows were you touring with and working on?
Lots of different ones. I did a lot of stuff up north at Theatre by the Lake. I did a big stint there actually, in Keswick, and they do a lot of rep work there, which is amazing. So you're doing 6 shows in rep. It's just constant and really, really amazing to do. But I did a lot of musicals on tour. American Idiot, the Green Day musical, which was really, really, really amazing. Great show, which we ended up going to New Zealand with. And did a stint out there for a bit, which was amazing. You know, it's really good. And then I've done a lot of plays, but yeah, a lot of musicals and lots of touring up and down the country. Yeah.
Now, for those that possibly don't know these titles within theatre and producing theatre, just tell us a bit what a stage manager is, because it's a bit misleading, because you're actually managing people as well as a stage.
Yeah.
Tell us
The
what
role
the role's
itself
about.
is kind of pastoral care vibes. So there's a number of people in the team. Anyway, you'd have assistant stage managers who are predominantly props based, and then you would have a deputy stage manager who would cue the show. So they're like the hub of all knowledge. So they would be with the prompt copy, the script for every show, and cueing all of the lights and sound, all of the automation, all the flying pieces, anything that moves is cued by them. So they're like the hub of all knowledge. And then you have either a stage manager or a technical stage manager, and then a company stage manager. And they are the mum Probably. They're the person that you go to if you need something, or they will just make sure that the whole show is fully supported once it's on the road. So when you're in rehearsals, you're very much supported with the director and the producing side of it, and all of those people, all the creatives are there. But the second you leave the rehearsal and move onto the stage, it becomes the stage manager's responsibility to just make sure it's all happening nice and smooth.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity to work together a couple of times now, and you really do hold your own in that space.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, that's good.
It's lovely, and I've often noticed that you are often surrounded by a lot of blokes. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that?
It's nice. No, it is quite like the technical side of it is very male dominant, I would say, but the stage management side of it is quite female dominant. I don't really know what the reason is for that. I'm not really sure, but it is. I guess that's why I've got lots of male friends, probably, because a lot of the people I work with are male. But it's just knowing how to manage them all, you know, and being there for everyone, supportive.
And there's that moment, isn't there, where particularly during technical rehearsal, where you are somewhere between mum, head teacher, referee.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a lot of pressure in that moment in particular. I mean, when you're on tour, it's like keeping a machine well-oiled, but you are the linchpin in that bit of the process. It's
a real balance, actually, because it's that. Like I went to East 15 acting school about 20 years ago now, a while ago, and there's a lot that you can be trained to do, but actually as a company stage manager, and to be honest, any member in stage management, you cannot be trained and taught how to manage people particularly, because everyone is an individual and everyone has different needs. So I, as a company stage manager, adapt to everyone individually. So the way I might talk to one of the actors might be different to the way I talk to a different actor, for instance. And I think because a really huge part of the role as a stage manager is recognising everyone's needs as an individual, and I think that's really, really important, because particularly in a technical rehearsal, which predominantly is the moment between leaving the rehearsal room and going onto the stage, where everything comes together at the same time, and there's a lot of people in that space. You know, the actors have had a few weeks to rehearse their lines and their movements, but anyone technical, that's the first time they're learning it, and that we're putting it all together. So it's quite a stressful environment, and generally they're quite long days, and it's a really long week, and then at the end of it you've got to perform to like 1,500 people, and you're like, oh, there's no pressure here then. You know, so it is a lot to manage, and I think so long as you're always available and you have a really good team around you, like a really supportive network, it's really the best thing ever. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, 20 years as working in the industry, it's changed a lot over that period of time, hasn't it? For good, certainly, around, you know, diversity, inclusion, you know, regulation, things like that. But there must be different challenges as well that you now face.
There are. I tell you, one of the best things that has been a wonderful change for me is that when I first started out, I've never quite looked as old as I am.
Lucky.
I know. Thanks, Mum.
Some of us is going the other way.
But and I appreciate that. But it's like, but what's really hard with that is, as a company stage manager, you're one of the hierarchies on any show. Yeah. And when you walk into a venue for the first time and you're asking a lot of predominantly male to assist with the build of the set and all of that technical requirements, who you've never met before, they don't know who I am, vice versa. It has been a real challenge for me in previous years to gain any level of respect in the first instance of meeting them. Now, 9 times out of 10, by the end of our time in X amount of venues, they're like, oh, okay, fine, great. But I've had to work really hard for that moment. Yeah. Whereas a lot of men in my position, they wouldn't necessarily have had to work as hard as I have in that respect. So, but now that's not like that anymore.
That's good.
You know, that's been a really positive change.
Really good.
Yeah.
But I guess also for female members of casts and companies that who might have had that similar kind of experience being part of an ensemble, actually that's been quite transformational as well, I guess. Yeah, definitely. I think we're really heading in a different direction now, particularly post-pandemic. A lot of things have changed now, and I think a lot of things changed for me because
when we came out of the pandemic, I was like, you just start questioning what you're going to do now, because it was just a really hard couple of years for so many reasons. Not being on the road, having to be stuck in one place, that's really new for me. So yeah, I think it's been a great change. I think lots of new things are coming out. I think a lot of it's really, really positive.
Well, we've been really lucky to kind of capture you, so you're not allowed to go out on the road unless you're touring with Norwich Theatre
Cheers.
shows now. Are you loving being back in Norwich? Because you're from Norwich, aren't you? This is home.
Born and raised here, and then I left to go to university when I was 18, almost 20 years ago now, and this is the first time in my adult life that I've ever lived in Norwich. Yeah, a year ago, Will Hill, the technical and buildings director, the legend, to put that in there, he called me and said there was a job going. You know, there was this advert out. Would I be interested? And I had a look at it, and I was like, it's really interesting, because it was like it was for technical and production administrator, so it's very much an administrative role, which was really different to what I do as a stage manager. But it had I had a lot of insight into how it all works within a theatre, so the jump it made a lot of sense. But I remember saying to Will, I'm really nervous, and I don't know if I'm ready to not be a stage manager anymore. I wasn't sure I was ready to leave it behind, but I also knew that I was nearly 40, and at some point I had to come back, because my parents were like really telling me off for not being here. And with the pandemic, you know, you do have to reassess what you're doing now. And I think, so I said yes to Will Hill, and I came in, and now it's been just over a year since I started.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it one bit.
Absolutely. And what bits of the role do you really kind of relish? Because your role is really, really broad, isn't it? And
it is.
Really kind of interchangeable, sometimes on stage working a show, sometimes marshalling the troops. And I should say Tara rules the roost in our technical team. Will might think he's her manager,
That's
but
right.
it's actually the other way around.
Yeah, I think I know this sounds really cheesy, but I love it all, Stephen. I do. I know how fortunate I am, and a lot of the people I'm still very much in contact with, they've actually said to me that I've really lucked out with what I'm doing now, because being a stage manager and on the road and being self-employed is great until you don't know when the next paycheck comes through. And now I work, you know, solid within this amazing company, and I've really dug my heels in. I've really, really grabbed it with both hands. I think the venue is amazing. I love the job that I do. I love making it work.
I paid Tara to say this earlier on with that glass of wine.
No, but I do. I really do. And I was thinking actually before I came here, what is my favourite and least favourite thing? And I actually can't find a least favourite thing. I think when I was on the road, my least favourite thing was not being with my family and not seeing them on a constant basis. But now I have the best of both worlds here. I see my family, I'm at home now, I see my niece and nephews, and I have a really wonderful job, and I get to stage manage alongside it. I've lucked out, Stephen, I have, yeah.
Well, in fairness, I think we have too, actually. And in terms of the projects coming up over the next bit of time, what are you looking forward to?
So we're going out with Jake Humphrey and Damien Hughes on the High Performance podcast tour, which is going to be amazing. In fact, we're there end of April, at the London Palladium, which, funnily enough, was the last venue I was in before I joined you guys here.
Right,
so it's a nice bookend for me. So yeah, I'm really excited about that tour and that show, and going back on the road again and being amongst all of that. And Jake and Damien are both really wonderful humans to be around and to work with. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Team High Performance.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Oh, Tara, thank you so much for coming to chat, and your story and your journey in the industry is really, really inspirational, and we're so lucky to have you as part of the team.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you again for joining us. It's been brilliant to hear the stories of Suzi Ruffell and my amazing colleague Tara Claxton, and we really love getting your feedback on this podcast. I'm eventually starting to get over my imposter syndrome and enjoy hosting these for you. Keep telling us the kind of guests you'd like to hear coming up, and we've answered one of your wishes, because on the next episode of Norwich Theatre Talks, I'll be chatting to the brilliant, the legendary choreographer Sir Matthew Bourne will be talking all things dance and how he tells those amazing stories which have featured at Theatre Royal for almost 20 years now. Thanks again for joining us, and see you next time.